So you're new to the game, fresh out of purgatory, and feeling pretty confident about going into Paradise Lost.
Bastard's going to get help.
Come on then, you yellow bastards!
Bastards. Hey there, Silvertongue Devil here, and if you've ever wondered what it's like to be a pincushion, this is the level for you. Considered by myself and plenty of other players one of the hardest levels going. I'd personally say large areas that don't offer a lot of cover, coupled with some new enemy types that are very happy to exploit that factor, is your biggest problem up here. Now, as you'll have seen from the intro, one does not simply rock into Paradise. The layouts and dynamics of this level will mean that it will remain a challenge to you for quite some time. My top special arrow pick for this level would be Tempest. You will definitely have it available to you as it is the reward for defeating Anakin. Be aware that it won't appear in the world until after the run that you beat Anakin on. Another arrow that you may have is Cupid's Wrath. Absolutely fantastic for this level. Its homing qualities and exploding nature can really help to clear the skies here. However, you will need to have braved the pits at this point and defeated 2 incubi to have it in the world. So, as always, the odds are stacked against us. Let's see what we can do to start taking back the advantage.
Hell is that thing? Oh my god!
The intro of one particular enemy is a major problem here. We are of course talking about Cupids, the lovely little flying cherubs with bows and arrows. So why are they such a pain? In comparison to what you've been fighting previously, they are small. Their body colour can blend into the level very well. Your fights with them will often not be on your level, and at more extreme ranges. All of this can make them a difficult target to hit. Thankfully at this stage, a single shot to the body will dispatch them. Aim for centre of mass and use full draw to keep your shot arc over distance consistent. Keep those eyes peeled, check the corners and watch out from above. Also note that Cupids are often found in groups. Alerting one usually means alerting multiple. Bear this in mind that when one teleports in to attack you, there may be more on the way. Engaging at range can be a difficult shot. Although their return fire is not particularly accurate or fast, their way to fire and unpredictable nature of their shots can make blocking and dodging a difficult prospect. So I would advise taking a few shots, returning to cover, and then waiting for the clatter of that return fire before popping out again to engage. And always be mindful of them teleporting down your throat. The other new enemy is the Banshee, another teleporter to add to the growing list, and a very deadly combatant. She is the only enemy in the game that fires homing projectiles, and if that wasn't enough, she'll fire them in groups of 3, and although you can block these projectiles with your shield, that can be a risky proposition. Lucky for us, these projectiles are slow moving, and it is often better to seek shelter. Ensure you count all 3 impacts hitting your cover, this way you won't step back out into a face full of burning purple plasma. Thankfully the wind up to their attack is actually quite slow and laborious. A hit anywhere will cause a stagger, which will interrupt casting and make them start again. The best tactic I find with Banshees is to drop them as soon as possible. Keep hitting them to whittle down their life bar and stop them teleporting away. When they do teleport to you, they usually get very close, making for an easy headshot. Also be mindful of the fact that they can block your arrows with their staff, and although it doesn't happen often, be mindful of it. And while not being new enemies, let's not forget about knights and monks up here. I won't be dwelling on them because you should be familiar with fighting them from purgatory. Just remember to keep an eye on those skies because they can all effectively have air support from those winged little gits. One of the biggest and most obvious changes with Paradise Lost is the verticality of the levels. Effective pathing from section to section is going to be essential. We're going to have to be a lot more adventurous with the teleport arrow, and often you will find yourself moving to an area that you cannot check visually before landing there. Also be wary of rooftops on this level. The fact that there can now be enemies up here and not a lot of cover can make them particularly deadly. Best practice is to always try and clear the level that you are on before moving up a level. When you are ready to do so, check the skies for cupids and check as many angles to as many openings that you can see. The best places to move up a level are usually around the outside. Small balconies, rooms and entrances often provide a lot of cover and are not usually heavily populated. If you do find that your entrance is very busy, immediately teleport back down to where you came from. Because you've cleared it, it should be reasonably safe, and if any of your welcoming committee were teleporters, they will most likely come down to pay a visit. Firing shots into the crenellations and past walkways can be another good way to lure individuals or small groups to your level, but always be mindful of stray shots. Rinse and repeat until you have secured your entrance. Proceed to exterminate everything on this level before travelling up to the next level in the previous fashion. Ugh, you better believe you're going to need your head on a swivel for this level. Staying near some kind of cover at all times and moving to and from it effectively is a key strategy in Paradise. Having walls and ceilings around you will cut down angles of attack, namely those of cupids. Remember, being inside a structure does not make you impervious from their assaults. However, being inside will cut down their options if they decide to teleport in. Also, try and be mindful of where all of your straight arrows are actually going. Due to the huge open nature of Paradise Lost, those missed shots can bring a swarm of enemies on top of your head. At this point, it is a very good idea to have an exact game plan as to what you do when the unexpected happens. So you've just heard something teleport in or the unexpected creak of a bow. I would immediately hit the quiver select button to put the world into slow time. This will buy you some precious seconds to choose how to react. More often than not, running for the hills is the safest option. If you are confident of the direction of the enemy and your own abilities, a snapshot can immediately defuse the situation. Sharding away, shielding, or a combination of those two options are also viable. The important part is to react and do something. Better that than to dither and take an unnecessary arrow. Also, always be listening for those sound cues, and if you think you've alerted something, go somewhere safe and count to 10. So let's have a quick look at those aforementioned special arrows and how they can help you. I personally think Tempest is your best option here. It hugely increases your margin for error on shots on cupids. Point the arrow in the direction of the flock and let fly. Draw strength is not a factor here, and the arrow will always fly straight. It can also be particularly effective on walkways or large areas where you have a lot of enemies lined up. When you fire it, think that you are firing a big circle towards the enemy and everything touched by that circle is hit. Like a railgun shot, it can pass through multiple enemies. Bear in mind this one is not a very good shout on Banshees. A lot of the time their staff will absorb the damage to them. Cupid's Wrath is another great arrow for this level. It will home in and explode on the closest enemy. Excellent for swatting cupids out of the skies. However, due to the nature of the level, what you can see won't necessarily be the closest enemy, which can often send your shot flying off to something you didn't intend. That factor can make this one a little bit more difficult to use, but at this stage of the game, it is quite effective against everything. You'll be happy to know that although that level was hard, the boss fight is pretty easy. Once you have found and teleported onto this island, Gabriel will descend. So let's take a minute here to understand why he is an easy boss. First off, he is easy to manipulate. If we get close to him, he retreats. If we get too far away, he comes to us. Knowing this allows us to put him where we want. He also only has 3 kinds of attacks. He can cast fireballs, swoop down and lunge at us, usually followed by a combo attack. He also has a plunging attack that has a huge damage radius. It will also summon cupids and banshees to his aid. The first 2 attacks are easily avoidable by using the pillars, and that last plunging attack, although it's his most dangerous, you can still use the pillars to avoid it. However, using the next strategy will ensure that he won't even get a chance to do it. Once Gabriel lands, immediately stand right next to him. Remember that he will retreat from us because we are too close. We want him to retreat off of the islands. This is because if there is no ground to hit, he cannot do his plunging attack. Once we have him flying over nothing, ensure that you are near a pillar. While he is not attacking, riddle him with arrows. As soon as you see him either change posture or cast his fireballs, take cover behind the pillar and look away. Ensure that you have broken line of sight, this way you cannot be hit. If you are cowering from his fireball attack, ensure that you hear all 4 impacts before coming out of cover to engage. If you are taking cover from his diving sword strike, wait for the first sword strike animation to harmlessly pass through you. This will usually then be preceded by another 3 strikes. Count these out before returning to engage. Also be on the lookout for a final strike that he may do to retreat with. Rinse and repeat this process to whittle down his health until he's done.
Do not show the slightest pity or mercy. Never stop. Go! Go! Show no mercy! Burn!